Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Hello and welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast. I am Dr. Supatra Tovar, and I am thrilled to have founder of Ozean Pilates Wellness, Sarah Meinert, with us today. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me today. It's so exciting to be here.
So excited for Sarah to be here. As you have probably seen in the previous ANEW Body Insight podcast episodes, we have a really amazing network of Pilates instructors. We've all remained friends, even though some of us are not working at ATP anymore. Sarah and I used to work together as Pilates instructors.
We did.
And we are so excited to have her on because we're going to be linking Pilates with mental well-being, mindfulness, all sorts of things that we haven't talked about before, and why Pilates is so important as an exercise form for mental health. Before we get into that, I am going to read a little bit about Sarah, and then I'm going to just drill her with a bunch of questions and put her in the hot seat. So,
all right.
Sarah Meinert is the founder of Ozean Pilates Wellness, a wellness studio dedicated to enhancing both physical strength and mental clarity. With a passion for movement as a core pillar of overall well-being, Sarah believes in the transformative power of Pilates, not only to improve physical health, but also to foster resilience, mental focus, and longevity. At Ozean, Sarah's philosophy is rooted in integrating mind-body wellness into daily life, promoting holistic well-being for individuals of all backgrounds. Sarah, I'm so excited that you're here today. This is so great. We haven't seen each other probably in like over 10 years, which is insane. But we're on social media. It's just kind of like we see each other all the time. But Sarah, I've actually never known what inspired you to go into, Pilates, movement in general. What is your background? What inspired you?
Oh, gosh. I've always loved movement. I'm a big fan of that, a fan of exercising. I believe I got into Pilates because I was working in the corporate world. And, sitting behind the desk, I get very antsy and I need to move. So I was always up and down, walking around. And I saw that there was a Pilates class at the Park and Rec. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what this is all about. I went to the class. It was just a mat class. The instructor, she was probably like in her 70s. And she just kicked butt. And I was like probably starting my early 20s. And I was like, how can this lady be so much better at all these exercises than me? As as a 20-year-old person, you just think you can do everything. And so I asked her what she did, what she went through to become kind of a certified Pilates instructor. And she kind of just led me on this path, and I just started researching, and I just went and got certified through BASI, which I love. And I just kind of grew from there, and, my love of dance and stuff, I think it just kind of incorporated it all.
I love that. What were you doing in the corporate world before?
I was working at the mortgage company.
Oh.
On the collection side. I was admin, but yeah. Yes. So, and then the market crash kind of happened, and I was already in the path towards Pilates and getting certified, and I saw the market and what was happening, and I was like, okay, I think it's my time to transition to a new career.
Exactly.
And so that's what I did.
Well, tell me, for you personally, if it's so important for you to impart that Pilates provides you such mental clarity and mental health, tell our listeners what happened for you when you started your Pilates practice. Like personally, for your mental health, for your physical well-being, all of that?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. I think it just gave me a time where I could focus on myself and kind of see what was going on, maybe internally, what things maybe I was struggling with. And it found that I could just kind of get away and have a little bit of peace from the outside world and become a stronger individual.
Yeah. That's, I think what happened for me is, I grew up with athleticism as a part of my background, but never really stuck to a particular sport or an exercise. When I found Pilates, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's one thing that's been consistent in my life since I went to that class that one time at the Park and Rec. I've just never stopped.
A completely addicting form of exercise. And I think, and we're going to get into this, but because of what it provides for you as far as clearing your mind, because it is a mindfulness-based type of exercise, and we're going to talk about that. It also strengthens you like nobody's business, especially if you are trained under somebody who's a powerhouse. And people in ATP, the reason why we're all friends is we're all very similar. And we really love to, strengthen people. On top of that, it helps with stretching. It keeps you flexible. It is the perfect exercise form for longevity as well. And we're going to get into that. So, Sarah, you built Ozean Pilates around the belief that movement is key to overall well-being. So explain a little bit more. We've just talked a tiny bit about it, but how Pilates plays a role in both physical and mental health.
Well, like you were saying, I think there is that mind, body, spirit connection that is so important in Pilates. And when you go through your certifications and you learn of that foundation, that's where I think you can get, your clarity, you can get, the physical part of it. And it just is all around encompassing good.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely believe that, Pilates in and of itself, just the way that it's structured, provides that mental health and wellness. But give a picture of exactly how it might do that. If you're in an exercise, what does the breath's role play in helping with your mental clarity?
Well, that's good. I think even going through an exercise, I'm always going from the head down to my toes, kind of what's supposed to be engaged, what muscle groups are working, how is this alignment. Now, once I get all that checked through, and then it's okay, now the exercise can begin. Inhale, and then I exhale, execute the exercise, and just keeping that pattern and that rhythm, which also is important in Pilates. He also talks about the rhythm and the flow of the exercises. And I think just keeping that throughout helps.
Exactly. So the breathing is in alignment with the movement. So how does the movement itself contribute to mental clarity and resilience? What do you think? Why do you think it's often overlooked in wellness routines?
It is also overlooked in a lot of wellness routines. And I think the fact that it's just not talked about how important the mental health or even brain health is in an individual, and how movement can help those things. Because it's going to create the blood flow. It's going to, make you happy. It's going to do all these things that incorporate better.
Yes.
Movement.
And I think the type of movement.
Yes.
So give a picture. We have, for anyone who's not at all versed in Pilates, give a picture of the equipment and the types of movement that you can do on the equipment.
Gosh, you can do lots of movement on the equipment. I mean, because Joseph, he created so many exercises classically for each repertoire or each apparatus on the mat as well. But you can, you have the equipment that looks, as people say, either, bedrooms or dungeness, devices. But, you can take all the exercises that you do on each of the equipment, if you do footwork on the Cadillac, you can do footwork on the Reformer, you can do footwork on the Wanda chair. You can take all the exercises that you do on each piece of equipment and transfer them to each piece. And then you can even incorporate that into mat and vice versa. And when you look at the exercises as they progress, you can see how they build upon each other. And it's like, oh, here's, rolling like a ball. Well, if we have rolling like a ball, it's actually a combination of this exercise and this exercise. And then we get into boomerang, and it's a combination of all these other exercises. So you see that there's the building of this foundation that he created, which is kind of, interesting to learn and kind of dissect when you teach more.
And just so he created this equipment, I believe, when he was in rehab in a hospital, during World War II, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. You can
there's a lot of different stories, or So what exactly?
What is your knowledge as far as how he created the equipment? Why they use springs? It's really interesting.
I learned or heard through the grapevine in Pilates world that he was training the troops in Germany, that the German army wanted him also to continue training the troops, and he refused that. But that he built a lot of these things in the concentration camps that he was at. And so that's why some of these things look like mattresses and beds, especially if you look at old videos. And I think, it just the pulley system also he used and the springs because people were amputees. So people didn't have like an arm. They only had one arm. So you could still do exercise with one arm with a spring, right? So that's where I kind of heard or found that he kind of incorporated those things.
Right. So you look at the equipment, it looks weird, but then you can see if it was built out of beds, hospital equipment, things like that. Like, oh, I kind of get it now. There's the reformer, which is the classic piece of Pilates equipment that most people know. It looks like a flat bed that you lay on, if you're doing footwork, that moves back and forth using spring resistance. Then they have what's called the Cadillac, which looks more like kind of a traditional bed. And it's got like 4 posts.
Yeah, like a canopy kind of bed.
Yeah, a canopy. And you can like hang from the top of the canopy. And there's all sorts of different exercises you can do on that piece of equipment. And then there's the Wunda chair, which is, looks like a chair. It has spring resistance. If you're sitting on it, that's what you would do your footwork on. So it's really interesting equipment. Plus there's all sorts of smaller apparatus that you can incorporate into Pilates. So I think one of the greatest things about Pilates, especially if you're doing it in studio, is the variety of exercise that you can do.
Right.
But there's also mat work. And both of us started, I started just doing a Pilates video. Anna Caban, she was my first Pilates video, and I was like, oh, I'm hooked. That's it. Yes. And then I just met Tracy at ATP and just was like, I'm hooked. I need to do this forever. Yes. It's amazing. So it is so versatile. And that's why you never really get bored.
You do not.
When you do this, because there's so many different things that you can do, and really does transform not just your body, but also just your mental health. So can you give me a success story of someone you've trained, someone who may have had difficulties in movement or an injury, and take us through how you help them heal or recover?
Well, there's many stories that I've success stories with clients with rehab or having some type of injury. I would say that a good success story is I've had a few clients that have had breast cancer, and they've always said having Pilates as part of their unit, their team, when they're either been diagnosed and they go through, and after especially the rehab of getting back into, society and getting, just feeling more comfortable, that Pilates has been the key thing that's really helped them mentally and physically get through the transition of, that hardship that they've had to deal with.
Oh my goodness. And did you have to adjust and alter their routines based on, their recovery?
Yes, because they're depending on where the incision was and just their healing process and what they were comfortable doing. You had to take time to kind of build back up to where they were. I had a client that she was well advanced, And then all of a sudden getting the news of the breast cancer, then having to go through the rehab. And then it was like, okay, now we have to build back. Now we have to get that side of, stronger. What do we need to do? We need to change the routine a little different. We need to focus more maybe on arms and stretching and getting these things. And also having her have the ability to talk to me and me giving suggestions with other, modalities or other practitioners that she could get involved with for, some of her pain or discomfort, like massage, or, just topicals that she could use, really helped her, I think, go through the process.
Wow. And I think people may not know this, but Pilates is used often in conjunction with physical therapists.
Yes.
And a lot of physical therapists are actually trained in Pilates. So give a kind of a picture of what injuries can be healed using Pilates.
Ooh.
I know there's so many.
There's so
Just
many.
give a picture. You don't have to tell them all.
So many. I've rehabbed through hip surgeries, knee surgeries, ankle plantar fasciitis, as you know, is very common, and just like shoulder issues. Just little tweaks or anything. I had a client that, all of a sudden he said his knee was kind of tweaking. He's like, loves to play, softball. He's in the softball team. And we've been rehabbing, certain things and working on his form and maybe looking at things structurally that maybe he's just like, all of a sudden element has come arise because of certain things. And now he's like, oh, this is so much better, now because of Pilates. And I like to have the clients take away something, like work on something. It's like, I'm here with you for, an hour to 2 hours a week, but the rest of the time you have to be accountable and you have to do some of these exercises, that I'm giving you because I want you to do better. I want you to be able to, succeed in life and to do these, activities you love to do. And if you aren't thinking or not like aware of these things, then it's not going to be any use to you.
Exactly. So what do you think some of the greatest misconceptions about Pilates are?
Oh, there's so many misconceptions about Pilates. One, as you probably always heard, it's like yoga. Isn't it yoga?
Yes.
Another one is I have to lose weight in order to start Pilates. And it's like, did you lose weight when you wanted to go to the gym? No, you didn't. You just started with the trainers. The same thing. We're trainers. We might not call ourselves trainers, but we're instructors, we're practitioners. Another one is, Pilates isn't for men. And it's like, well, Joseph was a man and he invented it. So
yes.
I don't think he would like that. So yeah, just, those are just a few.
Totally. I always hear Pilates and yoga, they're the same. Yeah. Can you please tell people how they are not the same at all? There's so many differences.
There are so many differences, probably too many to name. I feel in yoga, there's a set flow of a routine that you're going through, and it doesn't really vary much through that sequence. And I feel clients that I've had do yoga who are hypermobile, who don't know they have hypermobility, they think yoga is like great, but they're just sitting in their joints and not really even stretching like the muscle. They're just stretching, the tendons and just hanging out. And when they learn, how to use their muscle, or that they are hypermobile and what they need to do and where they need to be in space, it changes it. And so when they come to Pilates and they learn these things and they're using the resistance, which, you don't necessarily in yoga because you're not having the equipment, it changes how their body feels. And they're like, oh, this is totally different than, just going through those stretches.
Right. And I think even the breathing can be opposite of what we see in Pilates. You may inhale on a move in yoga where you'd be exhaling on a move in Pilates. And I think there is kind of that celebrity tinge to Pilates. Is why a lot of people think, I have to look a certain way before I do Pilates. And no, you don't. No, anyone from maybe ages 11 and up, depending on their height, because you have to be a certain height to do some of it, but you can do mat work at any age. Anyone can do Pilates, and anyone can get so many of the benefits of Pilates. And I think that's what I want to promote is it's not just a female exercise form, and it is very difficult. It is very challenging, especially if you're a man. You can really build strong muscles around joints, and that can only help you better in other exercise forms as well.
Right.
So let's go and pivot to longevity. You emphasize longevity. So how can movement, in particular Pilates, support healthy aging and prevent decline in mobility?
Yes, I have a great example of longevity, what I feel. I had a client who she'd gone to the studio with me. She'd been on the equipment, but she was 95 when she came to the studio. And then she had her, couldn't drive anymore to the studio. So then COVID kind of came about. And so we started doing in-home, right? So 3 times a week during COVID, I'd go to her home and we would do Pilates on the floor or where, standing work. And she did Pilates up until probably a week before she passed.
Wow.
So she lived to a little bit over 100, doing Pilates 3 times a week. She had limited falls. I think she only kind of had like a little fall getting out of bed, and she hurt her wrist. But she healed wonderfully, and she still continued to do Pilates, even though she had like her little wrist cast on from her injury. I would make her get up and down on the ground to do Pilates. People would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're making this 99-year-old woman get down on the ground. I said, you have to do something. What if she fell? What if she was by herself? You need to know these things. And she would do 12 of everything, count everything out. We did full body workouts. She did weights. She did TheraBands. She did balance work. And I truly believe, and even her family was like, we believe because she did Pilates that it extended her life, that she didn't have these injuries that most people do when you get to these age. And cognitively too, we would talk about things, and she was still very witty and stuff up until the day she passed. So yes. I feel that those things with the mental and physical contribute to that longevity of her life.
Absolutely. And learning something new is one of the keys to keeping, cognitive decline at bay. So whatever your age is, but especially as you're getting older, you need to be doing new things. You need to be challenging your mind. You also need to be challenging your balance. And balance is one of the greatest contributors to decline. If your balance is poor when you're older, and Pilates is amazing for that because there's so many exercises you do while balancing. So we could go on, and we're going to in the next half of this episode. But for now, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us for this half.
Yes.
We're getting a real deep dive into the intricacies of Pilates, and I've really wanted to do that. And Sarah's the perfect expert for that. So make sure you join us for the second half of this incredible episode with founder of Ozean Pilates and Wellness, Sarah Meinert. Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember, the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.